Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 16th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 25 live feeds. It was day 14 in the house, and we had a flip happen. There was a whole big momentous shift in the votes. There were plans being made, alliances being made, entire plans for the season that all changed with a single look at the end of the day. We're going to talk about it all, and with me to do it, Chantele. How you doing, Chantele?
Wow, Taryn, I did not realize how much that I missed the live feeds, but I don't know if this is how it always has been, but I feel like this was the week. Remember when we podcasted when Kyle got that head of household? Like, I feel like that is what I went through yesterday. It could be because I'm out of practice. It could be because it's been so long since I've had to do a live feed, like a real live feed update. Like literally this all of yesterday, all the conversations that I watched and wrote down was more than I think all of the daily drops of the last season of Big Brother Canada. So I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it, but it's out of sorts. Like I'm all over the place. Like this is Big Brother to me. This is pretty fun.
Yeah, quite a lot to get to here today. So we're just gonna jump right in. I'll pull up this graphic that we've got for you. Very informative graphic if you're watching along. So let's just quickly catch you up. Of course, Hisam, the HOH, nominated Cameron and Riley for eviction, won the veto, chose not to use the veto, but the night of day 13, things got a little weird because Suri and Izzy discovered that Hisam is doing a bit too much. And they were already pretty annoyed with Hisam and his, his orders and the way that he spoke to people and how he was telling them what they can and can't do while then secretly doing the things he said that they couldn't, and in most, I think, egregiously talking about honor and integrity and honesty through it all. So they were already kind of primed to be, we're not going to just do what Hisam says. We're going to do what we want. So when they found out that Hisam was telling Corey things like, hey, people are saying your name. They found out that Hisam is, starting to make deals with Jag and Blue, people that he claims to be targeting. It became clear to them that there was a fear that if they keep Riley in, or that if they take Riley out of the game, that Hisam is going to work on keeping Cameron on his side. He's going to make a deal with Jag and Blue. He thinks he's got Matt pulled over. He's been working on America. Now he's working on Corey. Basically, everyone outside of the alliance protecting himself and leaving them out to dry. And so in order to prevent all of this from happening, they want to blindside him, keep Riley in the game, and then, have everyone be against Hisam the following week. At least that was the idea on the night of day 13. However, Jared and Mimi very correctly pointed out that there are some significant downsides to keeping Riley in the game, primarily being that she is locked into this little army that she has with Matt, Jag, and Blue. And so there, yes, you keep Riley around to take out Hisam, but then you have to deal with Riley still. And so it seemed like the flip was maybe dying down with Jared being against it. Suri's not going to push too hard. And that was kind of where we left off heading into day 14.
Yes. And like I was obviously it's not necessarily the best game move for Suri to do this flip, but I was so in it. I was like, do you know what? Like maybe Suri she was contracted to come on the show and just like do some madness, shake things up, and maybe that would still propel Jared to win, but like she wasn't coming there to win. So I was kind of thinking like maybe this is why she's going along with this plan, and I was so here for it. And even watching this like majority of the day, I guess the first like 15 hours of the day, we were kind of on the trajectory of this flip actually happening. And they were selling me on it in the end. I was kind of like, you know what? Like, maybe they can pick up all the pieces in the end, and they have the numbers in the end, and it's going to be fine. And is Riley that insulated with those three people? Like, who cares? There are only three people. I was like, yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I'm with you. And so at the beginning of the day, I was on the journey with them of like really, really wanting to see the reaction of Hisam for this. Like, I was just like, I need it. I want it. I understand how much you want it, but like, I needed it. And so I was really, really hoping for it.
Yes. So let's kick off the day. First thing in the morning here on day 14, Hisam is going to go to Matt. And this is a very important interaction. He says, hey, have you heard anything about the vote, Matt? Matt's like, no, not really. He says, well, the truth of the matter is, I'll tell you this. I will say to you that there are enough votes to get her out, right? He says, yeah, okay. So there's no reason to make yourself a target, right? You shouldn't be voting for her. Okay. I just wanted to tell you that, right? So now you know. And feels a bit godfathery.
Yeah,
Feels a bit
controlling.
threatening.
I was like, when I heard that I was like, how dare you? Like, it's just so rude. I get it. Like, you want it to be a unanimous vote, but to be like, you want to be on the right side of the numbers. You can't do that because then you're going to be left out. I don't want that for you. It's like, shut up. Like, I was annoyed for Matt.
Here's the thing. Let me get you inside of Hisam's head because I'm almost sure I know what he's thinking in this moment. I think that he feels like he genuinely is doing Matt a favor in this moment. That he is like, listen, I'm looking out for you. I know the votes are already here. Don't make yourself a target. The only problem with that sentiment is that the only person who would target Matt for not voting
would be him.
Would be him.
Like, everybody's going to be completely understanding if he was to throw a rogue vote to Riley. And so it becomes a threat because he's basically saying, like, I won't target you necessarily if you don't do it, but if you do it, it gives me a good reason to be able to target you in the future. It's so controlling and annoying.
And it's particularly like, again, this kind of like, well, I'm just too honorable for all of this. Because Hisam talks about how he actually kind of wants Matt to vote the wrong way because that gives him the excuse he needs to target Matt. So by giving Matt the warning, he's being even extra honorable and integrity filled by giving him that heads up and giving him the advice that he needs to do well in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I in the beginning, I thought that Hisam was going to be a completely different person. I don't know if it's just because of HOH-itis, but like the fact that he needs to have so much control over what is happening during this vote is really frustrating. Of course, you want your target out. Of course, you want people it to be unanimous so that like it doesn't look like there is people that are against you. I get it, but like, let the guy throw a vote on his girlfriend. Like, it's just so controlling. Mean. He's mean.
So yes. So he didn't have his kindness that day. He didn't have it.
No. It was before his workout. Oh my gosh.
So I'm gonna take you on a journey here for the rest of the day because we had that little interaction, but the rest of this day, it's one big kind of whirlpool of you get sucked in and you kind of have to just follow the day through the perspective of Suri and Izzy as they rampage through the house and leave devastation in their wake. And so we'll occasionally branch off and show you the devastation, but the journey is focused on Suri and Izzy because they woke up in the morning feeling a little flippy. They felt I'm feeling kind of flippy today. After thinking about it from last night, I'm feeling like we should make this happen. Let's flip the vote. Let's keep Riley. What do you think? They both agree. Let's do it. They go and they talk. Izzy brings it to Jared and Corey, who both are like, we're not really feeling like flips today. Not really feeling flippy today. Don't think that's necessarily the best idea. So Izzy tells Suri, they're not really feeling it. So Suri goes and talks to Jared and is like, listen, Jared, I'm telling you, Hisam proposed an alliance to Jag and Blue. This is why we need the flip to happen. Remember, the reason she's worried is that she, I think, overestimates Hisam's position and thinks that Hisam might actually manage to create this alliance with Jag and Blue to actually pull people like Cameron and Red, and actually throw them under the bus for those people. And so she's trying to sell this to Jared, who at this point is kind of like, you know what? I don't care.
Whatever. He's like, I'm good pretty much no matter what. So
If
whatever.
you want to do this, Mom, fine.
What was also really funny in the beginning, like when they weren't in conversation, I was watching on like 6X and just seeing Izzy like zippity zip around everywhere, and it's like looking, but like on 6X was like, it was giving me life, and I think that needs to be something that's clipped, is just seeing Izzy buzz around. I obviously, like, I'm with them, and I really want this flip to happen. But yeah, it was a lot, and a lot of people didn't want it, and I think that it was interesting that it was happening on a Tuesday as opposed to Waffle Wednesday, because I'm like, there's just too much time. And I think that that's what has been getting in the way with Suri making maybe the accurate, understanding, is that she thinks that she could get this done right away. It flips happen and we're done. But then we still have 2 full days until the eviction happens, thinking. So I think the time that she hasn't gotten used to how long these cycles are. And so I think as she's in the game longer, she's going to start playing even better.
Yes. And so when Jared says, fine, whatever, I don't care, the dam breaks because Jared was the thing that was holding the flip back. And so as soon as he says that, things start going into motion. Jared is going to go to Riley now that he feels like, okay, this might happen. Riley might stay. I need to continue to work on this. Very messily, though, tells her, listen, the thing that's holding people back from keeping you is that they're worried about what you'll do once Hisam is gone. You need to put their minds at ease about that. And he helps give her the advice, essentially to lie to Suri and Izzy about what she'll do after Hisam is gone. And in the meantime, Jag is going to approach Suri about the alliance that he wants to create with her and Izzy and Blue. And he's been talking so much about who are the other people we can add to this alliance, because it's not an alliance with Jag unless it's an alliance of 8 plus people. And so he wants it, hey, if we can potentially keep Riley, then we would have Riley in the group, and then that could be like the core, and then we could each have a person we bring in. So like we could include then Matt and maybe say like America, and Jared, and then like Felicia or something, right? And it's just again Jag with yes, just bring all of I am a unit of 6 people. And I come with these 6 people. If you want to be in an alliance with me, then you are in some way will be in an alliance with these 6 people. He cannot see the forest through the trees about how nobody wants to be in an alliance with those 6 people altogether.
100%. And I think that he must have just recently watched last season and maybe watched a bunch of deep dives and maybe talking about like strategy and like how, the buddy system is the perfect strategy, and it's pretty effective. And having like the Russian doll with the buddy system like is pretty effective. But I guess he's not realizing that you have to maybe adapt your strategy depending on who you're in the game with and who the other people in the game actually want to work with. And so, yeah, I have to agree that he's not seeing that part of the problem is not just Riley. It's who Riley comes with. It's the block that they're scared of, especially them being potentially physically capable of winning some of these competitions, that they might not feel as though that they can work with them because they're not going to necessarily have the power. So yeah, hopefully he'll figure it out soon. He's a smart guy, but at this point he's not seeing it.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And this is something that it felt like from the very start that like he very clearly had the idea of what he wanted to build. But if he listened to my Alliance Structure podcast, he would know that the key components in that is secrecy. People can't know about it. Once they know about it, the effectiveness is over unless you can win every competition. And so his problem is that he hasn't accepted that like it won't work, that the secrecy has been ruined primarily because of Jared, but also Cameron. And he can't keep trying to pull all 6 of these people into one alliance because everybody knows that they're a unit.
So how does he get out of this, to be honest? Like, does he have to just like ditch them and like jump ship? Because like, I don't know, the disloyalty, I don't know if people would appreciate that. Like, is sitting ducks, does he have to keep the sides separate? Like, how does he pivot?
I think he just needs to like be like, oh, Suri, you want an alliance with us? Yes, me, Blue, you and Izzy. Let's make a secret 4. And hey, we'll use our connections to help each other. And in like you can keep those connections. You just don't have to bring it up at the start. It would be like like starting a relationship with somebody by telling them,
I have a lot of baggage.
I have a lot of exes that I'm
really
close friends with, and we're going to be hanging out with them a lot. In fact, can we pull some of them in right now? I want to bring them in on the first date. Hey guys, you can come over now. It's like, no, chill, wait on that stuff.
Like, we know you got exes. Just like, well, let's get to know each other a little bit better, and then they can come and be a part of it.
Yes. So Suri and Izzy are gonna move forward though. They still want to make this flip happen. Now that Jared has given them the go ahead, they're gonna go up to the have not room and they're gonna start having meetings. And just to put this out there, we're not gonna talk about it for the rest of the day, but Bowie is annoying everyone, including myself.
She's really annoying.
Doing rounds all day, poking her head into rooms. Annoying.
I was like, good, she's getting her makeup done. She's going to be away for a little bit. Yeah. And then then Bowie's laying in the back here. Oh, and then Bowie comes in here and breaking up this conversation. I'm like, oh, skip. Like, okay, like, when's Bowie gone? Yeah, I kind of felt a little bit bad for her because it felt like she was sort of being ostracized, but it's just because she's not part of these conversations. And so, yeah, she was annoying, but I felt a little bit bad.
Yeah. So eventually they get into the have not room with Suri, Izzy, Matt, and Riley together. And they talk about making the flip happen. Izzy is asking Riley, what will you do after Hisam leaves? The thing that Jared warned her about. And so Riley is prepared to say, well, after Hisam, I just want to chill. I just want to lay low, not ruffle any feathers anymore. Once I get him, that's my goal. And then once he's gone, I'm done. I don't even need to think about what's happening at that point, which is such a bad answer. Like, who in their right mind would believe that is actually the truth? Izzy would actually. It worked.
But okay, this is what I was wondering though. Like, why couldn't they construct like a better what can happen after? Like, they don't have to stick to it. Like, they can be like, listen, like, we're making this flip happen. I'm on your side. I'm playing for you. Like, we're gonna decide together if I win power, like what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why.
Riley is so bad at pretending things. And like, she can't, like Jag, can't pretend that she's not just like in a crew that is not Suri and Izzy or anybody other than her crew. And so like, it's such an obvious answer. Hey, what do you do after Hisam leaves? Well, we're building something right now. We're going to be working together. I don't know what new threats will appear, but whatever they are, we're going to decide together how to move forward. Like, we'll talk about it. Like, I'm down to do anything.
Because what they're scared about is her being able to win power, right? So I understand her wanting to be like, okay, I'm gonna be docile. I'm not gonna do anything. Like, you don't have to worry about me winning power. But if that's the fear, then be like, if I were to win power, you have this power. Like, you can aim me anywhere. I'm your humble servant. Like, whatever it is, tell this to them so that they can utilize you in the way that they're scared of you. It's very strange.
Whatever helps us get to the end together, because these are the people I want at the end. Right? Like, that's what they want to hear. But listen, it worked. So who am I to say anything?
I
Um,
think though Izzy got more excited about sticking it to Hisam. You know,
yes.
like I don't think this pitch actually worked. I think she is just like, oh, it's gonna be so amazing to see have her stay. I think that's the theatrics of that was what was more enticing.
Very much so. And that's sort of how the conversation goes, because Riley then also talks about, Hyson, he was telling me that, hey, sometimes after you're evicted, you come back. And if you come back, I think, for me, that's a clean slate. I would love to work with you if you came back into the game. And Izzy, he's out to lunch. Done with this guy. He's out of his mind.
I mean, there was a few times that I was like I liked Tyson yesterday, but I can understand that when someone gets on your nerves, everything that they do just makes your skin crawl, and so like I can understand like Izzy has those impassioned feelings about Hisam and Cameron also, so I think it's easier to kind of sway her.
Suri says, listen, I want this to be unanimous. I want Hisam to be blindsided by a unanimous vote. I want him knocked down a couple of pegs. And I want him to sit there on Thursday night and just feel deflated.
I mean, I want that too. And I really want that for you both. It would be a pretty epic moment. Like salivating. Yeah. I'm salivating for it. I remember like reading like even your tweets talking about it. And I was like, oh my God, if we're gonna get that.
It would be wild. It would be wild. But we have to continue moving because things are gonna continue to shift. They talk to Felicia, and Felicia's in. She says, listen, that's where I was leaning anyway. I'm down. Screw Hisam. Let's keep Riley. We're in. They talk again with Jag. And Suri before this conversation is like, hey, we're gonna tell Jag we know about your conversation with Hisam. He'd better be honest with us. And so they sit Jag down in the comic room and they say, listen, Jag, be honest with us. What was up with that conversation with Hisam? You making any deals? And Jag starts with a bad answer. Well, that we've talked about, coming from similar cultures, that we want to protect each other. And they're like, no. Jag, we know the truth. Don't be lying to us. You talking about named alliances? It's like, no named alliances. But did you talk about naming an alliance? Yeah. We talked about we didn't name it, but we did talk about naming something. Yes. Okay. Yeah. We did do that.
I really feel like Hisam's school of like interrogation has sprinkled onto Suri and Izzy here. I was like, this is not how you get somebody to like be in your alliance by threatening them, being like, we know, well, we just want to test you to see whether or not what we know you're gonna lie about it. I'm like this gentle. Like I was actually worried that Jag might be offended by the way that they were approaching him and like maybe say what they want to hear, but like not be with them,
Yes, well, he is properly intimidated by this conversation because he's going to go back to Blue and say, Hisam told them about our alliance already. Screw this guy. We can't work with him. And Blue's like, that snake. And he's like, yeah, we got to just commit to Suri and Izzy. We gotta keep Riley. We gotta pull Riley in, and then we can work with Suri and Izzy, and then we can work on bringing everyone else in from there.
I'm fine with this, but I was just worried that he was not going to take this conversation the right way. I'm happy though that Blue is like really ready and willing to pivot quickly. I mean, they probably didn't want to feel like they were going to be locked into this alliance with Hisam, so they probably were just like, "Oh my God, an exit strategy! I'm out. Okay, I'm good. Like, let me get out of this." But I'm still worried that in the back of their head, the way that they spoke to him, he might be a little bit like, they're a little bit threatening, kind of like how Hisam treated us.
Well, Suri and Izzy are going to talk to Corey about the flip, and they ask him essentially what his thoughts are, And Corey is like, listen, I've told you before. I mean, I think it's probably better for my game if she
Mhm.
stays, but like, I don't think it's better for your game. But listen, if that's what you want, I'm down. I'll do whatever. And he brings up some good points, some very good points. Primarily, like, okay, you keep Riley. She takes out Heisem. The only issue with that is that now she is locked back in with her group. And yeah, she might protect you for a couple more rounds, but you get a few bad comp outcomes in a row, and all of a sudden you're done. There's nothing you can do. And he knows this because he's watched All Stars too. He's seen some of these seasons where this
Yeah.
happens. And but Izzy and Suri not really hearing it. Izzy in particular, like, nah, but we're gonna win. They can't. They're not gonna win everything. We got the numbers. They can't stop us.
They do have the numbers, but Isom can play in these vetoes and he's gonna be angry. And so they're not seeing everything. I think that just the taste of blood and a delicious blindside is just clouding their rationale. We're gonna see them go through it still for a little while longer.
Yeah. They also talk to America, and like Felicia talks to America, and America lets Felicia know about all the things that like confirming all the things that Corey said that was told to America, including that he wanted to that Heisem wanted to work with competitors, and again just like confirming a lot of things. America also does something really smart when she talks to Suri and them is she talks about how like, hey, the reason we never connected in the beginning of the game is because Heisem was essentially like warning us about you, like blaming their lack of connection on Heisem, which they ate up. Oh, he's been doing this from the start.
I hate this guy. Oh.
He's been sabotaging us.
It was just fun. I'm sure everybody like picked up. I'm like, the way to get them riled up is like just be like, Heisem did it. It's very fun.
Yeah. And so Suri and Izzy, the plan is to not tell Red about the flip, at least yet. Ideally, they can take away his vote with Bowie's nether region power. And then they'll tell Bowie at the last minute as well, because they're not sure about Bowie. But at some point, they do want to tell Mimi. They don't want to leave Mimi in the dark. And so they planned on waiting until the next day to tell Mimi. But then they were in a room with Mimi. So what else are they going to do? Which is kind of a theme of the day. And they start talking to Mimi about the flip again. And they tell her all of the like information they've learned about Heisem since just last night, and all of the reasons why Heisem sucks and they need to go against Heisem. And Mimi is genuinely becoming convinced that like Heisem is a problem. I agree with that. But it doesn't change the fact that we need Riley out. Why would we keep Riley in? We don't need Riley to go after Heisem. It doesn't make sense. And so Izzy and Suri are kind of like, yeah, listen, we're still talking it through. We have not already, made everything happen already. Like we're still making the decisions.
And what's really good about Mimi, is that she she gets her talks where she's like letting us know really how she feels. But the fact that she's like, this, I don't want this, but I will do it if you guys want it. And I think that that's a good way to be an alliance member. But she's really right in the fact that like, okay, Suri and Izzy are making these deals to make it happen, but like she's not being pulled into what's going on. And so it doesn't really benefit her at all to make this flip happen. So I don't know why they weren't appealing to why it would be beneficial for Mimi to make this flip happen, because no matter what, Heisem is going to be going out next week, most likely, from anybody else. And so it doesn't really matter if, like, why would she want to have Riley and all of her people together that never included her in anything anyways? So I just thought it was interesting that they're trying to bring Mimi in without making it enticing for her. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, why would she bother? She doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, and in particular, it's even worse for Mimi right now, because not only does Mimi have one of the like some of the least amount of like relationship status with Riley. But after all of these conversations today, it's become clear to Riley that Mimi is one of the holdouts. And so when talking to Jared about like who might I target after Heisem, I don't know, maybe Mimi after all of this. Now Mimi doesn't know this, but she does know that she doesn't have a very good relationship with Riley and is definitely concerned about it. And so yeah, Mimi says, listen, if you really want to keep Riley, I can live with that. But then she goes upstairs into the HOH bathroom and no, I don't care. I don't care. These people, oh my God, they're out of their minds. I don't care. I am not letting this happen. I need to find the votes somehow, some way. Riley is leaving this house on Thursday.
And I actually believe her. I believe her. She's speaking sense, and so I think that she's going to make it happen, especially since Jared is not that keen. We'll do it if that's really what everybody wants. I think that they're going to be a powerful voice, and so I think what they decide is what's going to end up actually happening.
Yes. So Mimi's upstairs ranting in the bathroom while the professors have a little meetup in the comic room. And Heisem lets them know that he did make kind of a fake deal with Jag and Blue. They kind of really want to work with him. So, he's just trying to stringing that along, right? But they're still the targets. They're still the targets for sure. And he also lets them know about how, basically how he sees the game working from here is that he's making all these deals. He's trying to make sure that the other side targets Corey, because they're saying even America dropped Corey's name. And so then he's trying to get Corey to fear them. So Corey will go after them. And so that they'll be at war. And then the professors will sit back and be in charge. That's kind of how Heisem sees the game going. And it kind of makes sense now what he's trying to do with Corey when he's dropping to Corey, like, hey, they're saying your name. But all Suri and Izzy here in this conversation is, excuse me, you expect us to believe that America dropped Corey's name? We know that America is with Corey. You are so full of it.
more fuel to this fire of like, let's blindside Heisem. I think that it would have been able to work if he had let them know that this is what he was maybe intending with his HOH. Like, instead of just being like, hey, nobody make any alliances. Hey, nobody talk to anybody else, or else. And then he goes and does it. And he's like, well, I did it because of this. I think that if he kind of maybe shared with everybody what his intentions were, they might have been a little bit more for it. But I don't think he notices, though. Like, I would notice if people, they don't talk to him properly. You can feel the disdain when they're around him and they're pretending to have these niceties. How does he not pick up on this?
Yeah, they're talking about him in the comic room when he will just walk in with he's got like a blanket that he's wrapped around like a shawl, and he's like, hello everyone, and he's just having fun.
Yeah, catwalk. Yeah, and they're just like, like they were just not having fun with him. Didn't notice though.
There's also a fun moment where he's talking about yeah, Mimi's up in my bathroom. She's been doing her hair for 8 hours. Can't wait to see what's gonna happen there. And meanwhile, and this is, I made this tweet, and it's maybe my favorite tweet I've made so far this season because I love Mimi rants. But meanwhile, upstairs, Mimi is just like,
not doing her hair, just ranting about her alliance.
Yeah. So Suri and Izzy agree. Heisem's full of it. This guy, no way. In the meantime, Corey's going to talk with Riley and really, again, kind of illuminate to me the issue that Riley has. And when I talked last night on the roundtable, and of course, by the way, we'll get there, but they love making it seem like something will happen for the roundtable and then changing their minds. But I said last night that this flip didn't really seem to have a lot to do with Riley. And that if anything, Riley seemed to be holding it back. And again, this to me like was an illumination for why that was happening. Corey tells Riley, listen, Cerie's been fighting for you. And it seems like this is happening. It seems like you're gonna stay, and that's great for us, like moving forward. But here's the thing: you've managed to get through this week, but if you want to avoid being in this situation again, you need to change up what you're doing. Like, you need to start looking out for yourself a little more. And like, obviously, you have Matt, and everyone knows that, and that's really valuable for you. But Jag and Blue being so attached to you is dangerous for your game. They didn't really fight as hard for you this week, which, they were abandoning ship and he knows that, but she doesn't. But he kind of is trying to hint at it. Like they didn't quite fight as hard for you as you might hope that they would have. And you can use that to make it seem like you're not as close to them moving forward, right? Like you can be like, hey, I know that they weren't fighting as hard for me. Whereas Suri, I know you fought for me so hard. And therefore, that can help Suri feel comfortable that you're not so attached to them and you might actually work more with Suri than them. And she says, yeah, but that's not true.
You're like, ah! He's like, do you want to stay in this game? Like, you really gotta pick up what I'm putting down here. Like, make it seem as though things are different. And then you'll have better success.
Man. He says, listen, nobody's ever going to want to work with you if they feel like they know they're number 5 or 6 for 100%. You. 100%. But she doesn't hear it. And I think, honestly, part of this problem, I think she likes Corey a lot. I think she's still stuck in the mode where he was begging for his life to her and she saved him. And therefore, she knows more than he does in the game. Like, she recognizes that he's super smart. But when he's telling her these things, she doesn't really like hear what he's saying. And she's a lot more inclined to listen to like Jag when he's giving her advice, even though Jag's advice is considerably worse.
Well, I mean, if she just listened to what he was saying and this had like maybe a light bulb moment and being like, oh my God, of course, like they could still be my friends, even if I tell them that, we have a little bit of separation because of what's happened here. Like they kind of left me. Like then people are like, feel sorry for you. Like, and I think that's one of the reasons why the flip started to work was like people felt sorry for Riley for how Hisam spoke to her in the veto ceremony. And so I think that if she plays a little bit on that pity card and be like, oh my God, like everything that I thought I was building, all these friendships that I thought I was having, they don't even want to be around me because I got the nomination stink on me. Like, and you've been saving me, Suri. You've been here for me. Like, I owe everything to you, Suri. Save me. I'm yours. And it might work better than what she's doing anyways.
Certainly. And here's kind of why, right? Because at this point, everyone's on board. There's excitement in the air. Riley can't contain her good mood. She's supposed to be acting a little down, but she can't help herself. Hisam is like, can you believe that Riley feels so comfortable right now? Like, what is going on? And
that was another conversation. Like when he was working out, I was just like, like I just like that's why when I really wanted the flip to happen, because he was just so cocky and confident about like, oh my God, how dare she be acting this way when like like she's gonna be leaving it on a unanimous vote. Like I was like, no, she's not.
So everything's in place. Everybody's on board. People are happy about it. And that's when Suri and Izzy walk into the comic room where Bowie is talking to Cameron. Bowie finally stopped making rounds and she sat down and started talking to Cameron. They're like, hey, what are you guys talking about? He's like, oh, we're just talking about, how I feel about the situation. I'm just chilling, just not doing much, just trusting the process. What I'm talking about is I'm really happy that I had this, got Jared in my room because it gives us some alone time. And then, we get like 6 minutes of time and we start talking. And then Blue comes in and ruins everything. We're just like, they're like, oh, we could see Jared doing that. That's funny. And he says, I was telling Hisam that Blue and Jag, they're the people we don't want to win, right? After that, I'm not doing anything without consulting you guys.
Smart.
Why is
Riley.
Cameron playing better than you, Riley?
And like like he hasn't said like 5 words this whole day, and the words that he said were useful and appealing to the people that were going to be saving him, you know.
Yeah, and he says, listen, I'll tell you this, Matt's nervous though. I talked to Matt today, and they're like, anyone would be nervous around Hisam. Feed's cut, but when we come back, they're kind of finishing the conversation. We're going to later hear about what was in this conversation. Basically, he was telling them he talked to Matt, and Matt told Cameron about how Hisam was threatening him about the vote. And when Cameron relayed this information to Suri, he gave Suri a look. One of those looks like, can you believe this guy threatening Matt? Man. And so Izzy and Suri start chatting. Did you see how Cameron looked at me when we talked about Hisam? Because he was like, yeah, I saw that. That was so big that he trusted you with that look. We think we could get Cameron to go after Hisam? I mean, listen. If Cameron's going after Hisam,
We don't need Riley.
Isn't the path of least resistance to keep Cameron instead of Riley? Because if Hisam is threatening Matt, and Matt's going to be mad at Hisam, and Hisam can't pull in Matt, and he doesn't even have Cameron, then we could just keep him calm, get rid of Riley, don't have to worry about Riley and her army, and then everyone's going after Hisam next week. And then everything's fragmented. Jag and Blue maybe come to us. You know, Cameron and Red are over here going after him there. And then, you know, Matt's yeah, I mean, that's the path of least resistance.
And then they start cackling.
Are we changing our minds?
And they're like, I think we're changing our mind. And like, they're just like, they can't flinch. And Izzy's just like, well, I mean, that's what I wanted at the beginning. So like, this is fine. This is the path of resistance. And like, they're just laughing. I mean, I think that they have a little bit of work to do repairing some of these relationships for the fact that like they had people going in this direction with this flip. And now they're completely going to be like, you know, yeah, it's been up and down. Like, it's going to be a little bit challenging, but I have faith in Suri. But it was funny just to see that like oh my god, shit.
They recognize how ridiculous this is between the two of them. But basically, what's happening here is that, you know, we've been saying strategically this is not a sound move to flip to keep Riley, to blindside Hisam. And that for me, the main sticking point was that I felt like Suri was overestimating Hisam. And I think what she discovered in this moment is that Hisam is considerably less powerful than she thought. That Matt is done with Hisam. He's threatening Matt. And that even somebody like Cameron is seeing Hisam as a dictator who's threatening people and is willing to go against Hisam. Therefore, and now she's also talked to Jag, and Jag has admitted that he had made some, you know, talked about making a deal with Hisam and is willing to bail on Hisam. And it's like, this guy does not have as much pull as I thought. And now that I have a little bit more information about the actual lay of the land, Hisam's less threatening, but it still needs to go. And it does kind of make more sense to get rid of Riley and keep Cameron now that I see everything. The problem is that they've already now gone through the entire process of making the flip happen. And they're like, can we even flip it back at this point? Have we gone too far? How do we do this?
Can you unflip a flip? Like, yeah, I guess. But like, I don't know. It's just going to take a lot of work just to build back the relationships, because you don't want to look like a flip-flopper. Like, that's like really not great to know that like what you say is not what you mean. Like, getting everybody, using all your social capital to like get people on board with doing something, and then be like, do you know what? Yeah, we thought about it a little bit longer, and we're going to go back to what we originally were doing. It's just like not a great look. And I guess today is going to be, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
For 70 in the chat says they're trying to squeeze the batter back out of the cooked waffles.
Messy, messy,
They're trying to
messy.
take Mike Bloom's waffle from yesterday and reconstruct it.
Well, I guess today literally is Waffle Wednesday, so like they're going to be like dealing with this batter mess all day,
Yeah.
unless it flips back. We never know.
We will see about that. They're like, well, what can we do? What can we say? Jag is going to be so mad at us for flipping back. What do we say to Jag? And they start coming up with some really wild ideas. Like, well, what if we tell Jag
We're
about
an
the
8-person
7-person alliance? Because they already knew anyway, right? And so we can just say, well, we're in a 7-person alliance and we couldn't convince the others in the alliance to do this. So sorry, we can't do it. Now
Boo.
let's work together moving forward. And they're like, yeah, that could work. Like, no, it couldn't. That's no.
And I feel like
so.
Izzy went out with that information. I was like, oh boy, that's not good. And even in the arm, like especially in the arms of Izzy, because as much as I love her, I think she's Feed's gold. I think that I would probably want to align with her because she'd just be fun to spitball ideas with. I don't know if I would want to send her out with like armed with like bad information. So
yeah. So they're like, what do we do? What do we do? I mean, we've already made so much progress here. Let's sleep on it. Let's not do anything until we sleep on it, make the decision, and then we can be decisive. And then Mimi walks in and they go, Mimi's like, what are you guys doing? They're like, Mimi, we're 50-50 right now. And they tell her what they're thinking, and she's like, that's what I was trying to tell you guys the entire time. But yeah, that's a good idea. I think you're right about that. But they're like, but the concern is that, Jag and Blue might go to Heisem. And Mimi's like, but what we can do about that is that we can plant some seeds right now to prevent that from happening, because we know it's happening, right? So we can tell Jag and Blue that Heisem is talking about targeting them so that they don't want to work with him. And that's a good way we don't need to keep Riley to prevent that. We can just tell them those things and prevent that from happening that way. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Too much time on their hands, but at least they're coming to the less fun, but better decision here.
Mimi goes back upstairs and she's like, these people, I just want all of y'all to know I had nothing to do with that idea in the first place. Okay. I want nothing to do with any of that.
I also am shocked like that Heisem hasn't heard any rumblings, because like the energy in the house has been like, I felt like, especially when it was like on the upward trajectory of this flip being like happening. Like, don't you feel the vibes of people? Like, I don't know. I would assume that like he could recognize it, but maybe he's just in his head of household room and just being like, I am Heisem God. But it's just wild to me that he just doesn't know anything. Even Bowie too, like bouncing around from room to room. Like, does she not realize that like things are going on?
Bowie has conversations where she's told what's happening, and she sometimes needs to be told a second time. So when she's not in the conversation, yeah, it's a lot less. So Izzy, so they're like, okay, the decision hasn't been made, but we're kind of feeling like maybe we should flip it back. Let's sleep on it. Let's just not do anything too hasty. Izzy goes right to Jag. Jag, people are feeling kind of scared, and I'm kind of worried that things are changing. So we might need to just consider like what happens if things change, and like what does that look like for us. And Suri goes into the bedroom, and she's talking to America, and she's like, hey, America, I don't know. I feel like maybe things aren't going to go for Riley's way. And then Riley comes in, and she starts talking to Riley, and she says, hey, Riley.
What happened? I got it.
Things are shifting. Man, people are scared. Everyone is scared. And I'm just concerned that they're changing it all up again. And I'm like, I don't know why. I'm so frustrated. I've been working so hard for you, and I don't know why everyone is changing. And Riley's like, what? Oh my God, what is happening? And so Riley is panicking and Jag is panicking, and they start going, oh man, everyone's so scared. Why are they so scared? We need to get them back. Luckily, Suri's on our side and she's trying to work for us, but we need to get everyone back. Who's scared? I don't know. Everyone, apparently. Oh man, how do we make this work? And I'm just like, if you stopped to think about this for 2 seconds,
Who's talked to you?
who are the other votes? It's only Cirie, Izzy, and Felicia. When they're saying everyone's scared, it could only possibly be them. But they're like, but everyone's scared. We can't be scared of Heisem. We can't be scared of him. We need to fight the power, okay? We need to have confidence. We need to be sure of ourselves. We need to rally the troops. Come on, Cirie, let's get these people to not be scared.
She's like, it's not working. I mean, I definitely felt sad for Riley because like she hasn't really done enough to warrant a flip in her favor, really, to be fair. But to think that you're out the door and then you have this lifeline come in and then you're like strategizing, you're talking about weeks to come, you're starting to be like, oh my god, I might not actually be going out week 2, and and then it just being like, yeah, I don't think we're going to make that happen. I would feel really sad and deflated.
Yeah. So this is everything's now starting to crumble around them. And Cirie says something to Izzy that I think helps illuminate the situation a lot, which is, man, on Survivor, you have 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's why everyone's standing up at Tribal nowadays. It's not much time. I'm not used to like 2 days. Like, this is so much time. And in Cirie's mind, she's like, this is just always going to happen. There's so much time. It's going to be at this pace all the time. But in terms of like what happened here, I think that like on Survivor, they would have just flipped the vote. It would have gone through. She would have worked on damage control. But now she has even more time to then second guess the flip, try to go back on the flip. You never have that much time on Survivor. And so she's playing this fast-paced game where if you come up with the idea, you need to start working on it. We've seen, especially in Modern Survivor, a huge thing about the game now is that there's not enough time to enact plans. A lot of exit interviews talk about like, we wanted to do this, but we didn't have enough time. We couldn't find time to do it before we had to go to Tribal. And so I think they're trying to just fast-paced, like, we come up with an idea, enact the idea. That's how she's played the game for 4 seasons of a show. And now all of a sudden the pace is considerably stretched out. And it's definitely impacting things.
100%. And there was another conversation that Izzy and Jared were having in the washroom about Cirie's game. And as Izzy was asking Jared if the reason why she has never won was the fact that she gets emotional about some of her decisions and then go to tribal council and get rid of that person when acting emotionally. And so, how she's feeling about Heisem right now is her acting emotionally and wanting to get something done and get that person out. But Big Brother is kind of like a slow burn, and you got to kind of bide your time, and you got to wait to make that attack. You can't just act immediately. And so, yes, I think that this is a learning curve for Cirie with the differences of this social strategy game.
Yeah, Jared says to Izzy, you have to understand, this isn't LeBron playing basketball. This is LeBron playing football. It's an entirely different thing. Because Izzy's talking about, I have such a hard time saying no to Cirie. As though Izzy isn't a huge part of this too, and she recognizes that. So there's all of that stuff going on. Corey's going to talk to Jared as well about listen, we got to figure this out, right? Because Corey's been informed by Izzy now, we might be changing it back. And Corey's like, really? I'm like, oh, all right, listen, I'm down to do whatever. And so he's talking to Jared, and Jared again is like, this is what I'm saying. They're so emotional. And you can tell Corey's like, oh, not this again. He's like, yeah, but everyone's emotional. And Jared's like, not me. I'm not emotional. And Corey's like, I mean, you're not about this, but about other things, right? And he's like, no, I'm telling you, they are extra emotional.
And then he's like, oh, but I'm a Pisces. I do get emotional about things. And I'm like,
and so Corey's just like, let's just get together, decide, and then that's it from that point. And then Cirie comes and talks to Jared. and tells him, not, hey, don't tell Izzy that she's emotional. She hates that. And he's like, all right. Um, and in the meantime, Jag and Riley have talked. People are panicking. We need to rally the troops. Jag's going to go and he grabs Felicia. And he's like, Felicia, everyone's freaking out. Well, what are you thinking? Blue comes in. Riley comes in. They start really like rallying around Felicia. They're working on flipping Felicia. They're like, hey, we need to make this happen. We shouldn't be scared of Heisem. We need to like keep Riley. We're going to make this work. And she's like, yeah, no, it makes sense. That's what I want to do too. Because she hasn't even been told yet that things are flipping back. And so after Felicia leaves, I'm telling you, they celebrate like they just like won the game. They're like, yes, let's go. We did it. We got Felicia. We're going to make this happen. We're so good at this. And Felicia goes out and talks to Corey and she's like, I'm not really feeling that Riley thing anymore.
Felicia's good at lying. Like they should take a page out of like Felicia being like, oh yeah, exactly. And then like, it's actually not what she's thinking or feeling.
it's yeah. So Corey's like, yeah, I agree. Like I'm not gonna act on anything until we come to the ultimate conclusion, but I am also feeling like it's gonna be Riley. That's what I think. And Felicia's like, yeah, I've come around to that line of thought as well.
Path of least resistance. I mean, it was a fun ride that we were on yesterday.
Path of least resistance. Corey's going to talk to America for a bit as well. And they both agree, like, however this comes down, as long as it's not them, they can make it work either way. Heisem is still the target. Corey talks to Mimi as well, and says he thinks it's going to be Riley, but they keep going back and forth, and he doesn't really care either way. And Mimi is like, yeah, same. I don't care either way. And Corey's like, I mean, I think I cared more at the beginning of the week, but at this point, I'm just like, whatever. And Mimi's like, oh no, I never cared from the start. Never bothered me one way or the other. And then America comes in and she's telling America, yeah, Corey thinks it's going to be Riley. And so, it's starting to feel like, things are going in that direction that it's probably Riley. And Riley has stays up again very late with Matt up in the have not room. They're talking long late night conversation. She says she's just like, I just don't understand. Like, why would anybody want Cam in the game over me? I mean, think about it. I have numbers. I have the strongest guy in the house, you. I have Jag. I have Blue. I have Corey, who's a brainiac. I have Jared. Why would they not want that?
Because they don't want to be
like, well,
sixth.
Yeah. He's like, well, probably because we're already a big group. She's like,
Poor thing. I mean,
this
Jag
is what Corey the brainiac is trying to tell you.
Yeah, Jag also kind of explained to her how they were feeling, and like I don't know. I think that she just doesn't understand. She's like, but I like people, and I want to work with these people. I can bring all of these people. That should be a plus, and she's just not seeing that your numbers aren't good for the people when they're scared of you guys having power and you protecting each other over them. Like she just cannot see it. It's kind of wild, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's not a difficult concept like at all.
Yep. So that's pretty much the day. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done and decisions to be made. The biggest thing here, of course, is that it is now basically public knowledge that everyone is against Heisem. And I would imagine that Jag and Blue and Matt are not going to be pleased by kind of being, pulled around in a bunch of different directions and made to believe that the thing was going to happen and then it didn't happen. Can Suri and company manage that damage control? Maybe. As long as Heisem ends up leaving next week, does it matter if they get caught that they were against him? Maybe not. But there are certainly some potential pitfalls here. One being, if Jag has his head on straight, he might realize if they're not keeping Riley, they must have some other things going on. If they all want Heisem out, and Heisem did offer to work with us, even if he did tell them, maybe what we do is we tell Heisem about all the things they've said about him and how they confronted me about the alliance that I was in with him, and they all wanted to keep Riley, but they changed their minds at the last minute. And now they all want you out. And now we are HOH, and we're going to protect you, Heisem, because we want you to work with us and go after them. Like, that's a pretty good move for Jag.
I don't see it. I don't see him being able to do that. I
I
just
don't
see it.
disagree, but the option is there. The path is available.
That's scary. That's scary. That could really dismantle Cerise and Izzy's game, and even that whole side. That could be a problem. Professors would be screwed if that happened. But they could also say that, like, well, they're going to see anything to be in your good books. Like, they could definitely, you know.
They have a lot of very specific information that could be used, I think, to be very convincing that, like, they couldn't possibly have that information unless all of what they were saying was true.
Fair.
The other, I think, more likely option, because it doesn't require quite as much forethought, is what happens if Heisem wins that veto next week and ends up staying in the game. And now who's the backup target, first of all? Probably not Cameron anymore, unless they are really dumb. And maybe at that point they realize, hey, we're not, like, Serene and Izzy weren't really working with us. Or even if it is Cameron, even if things go right next week, except for Heisem winning the veto, and then let's say Heisem then gets into power eventually, maybe the following week, who knows? And he starts targeting Jag and Blue or whatever he was planning to do before. Now they have all this dirt to eventually to rat Suri and them out. At that point, it might be too late, but what I'm saying is it's dangerous. It's dangerous that they've gone so far. They tried so hard, they got so far, and in the end, it didn't matter for them because the flip didn't happen. And so,
is that your karaoke song?
So it's you think I could pull off a Linkin Park song?
Yes, I do.
It's dangerous stuff, and I think they recognize that. And the work today will be trying to figure out how to mitigate all of that potential risk now that they're going in a different direction.
Yes, and this is what all Wednesday is going to be. So I'm very interested to see how they do. Suri and Izzy do this damage control. They need to get to Blue and Jag, because, like, they're the ones going to be the ones that are going to be the most affected by this. Like, Matt, I don't think is going to be that upset, but I think that Jag and Blue, they were like, we're supposed to have a 4, and we're supposed to be, enacting this strategy that Jag has been wanting to do, and pulling in somebody in and having this big group of 8, and then that's all completely gone now. Where does that leave them? And so hopefully they're going to realize that they need to still make something with Jag and Blue, so that Heisem can't re-pick them back up, or that they can go to Heisem with information. So I'm very interested to see what they decide to do and how. It's challenging.
I just saw this is interesting. I just saw a tweet by Kevin Jacobs, illustrious Big Brother Canada winner,
my former neighbor,
and former neighbor, which is interesting, because I've been thinking a lot about Kevin this week yesterday with what Suri is doing, and how really good players can have these moments of indecision and back and forth that are like pretty messy. And so Kevin is tweeting out, like, the thing, which is, I think, the thing that he really, like, learned when he played, which is, when you don't know the best decision to make in the Big Brother house, don't spend the week back and forth, going back and forth deciding. The best decision is to make a choice and then spend the rest of the week laying the groundwork to make a successful one for you going forward. And which is 100% correct. Famously, Kevin had a week of indecision in the Big Brother house that nearly cost him the game. And I think it's important to note that, like, very talented and good players have had these moments before. And so it's very interesting watching, like, a lot of people are like, Suri actually sucks, I guess.
No.
And I think that, like, 4 seasons of Survivor show clearly, like, that's a very simplistic way of looking at things. You don't have that much continued success unless you're doing something right. And so I think we are seeing some flaws in Cerise's game that we might not have known before, or maybe had an idea of before. But we're also probably seeing a failure to adapt to the Big Brother format, or at least
100%.
like a delayed adaptation to it. As we see her trying to like incorporate Survivor strategy into Big Brother and Survivor pacing into Big Brother.
Mhm.
But we're also seeing that like there is no such thing as a perfect player. We, all players have flaws, and I think we're seeing Cerise like quite, pushed into the forefront here. Which is not to say that like it's impossible for Cerise to maybe not be as completely dominant as we thought she would either be or is. But I think we also shouldn't just like immediately go to extremes of like she's still the best player ever, ignore what she's doing, or like, nah, clearly she actually sucks and you were all wrong for the last 20 years.
No, I think with Cerise, I think that right now she's adapting to a new game. And I think that if she's making these mistakes on day 70, then I'd be like, well, no, but she's going to be made it to day 70. So, like, that's still a good player. I think that everybody's still going to want to work with Cerise. People don't seem to think of her as a threat. They want to bring her information. They want to bring her into things. They always go to her for her opinion. That's her miss. That's her charm. And that's what has allowed her to be super successful. And we're just getting to watch her adapt to a new game. And just because someone's not adapting as quickly as we'd like, or we get to see her adapt, because who knows how this episode's going to be cut. It might make her look like she's a super genius. Like, who knows? But we're getting to see her bumps and warts and all of her, her decision making that we don't get to see on Survivor. Maybe she's always been like this, and we just see a nice cut of like how her game flows out in Survivor. So, and the traders. So I still think Cerise is an exceptional player. I think that we are just seeing an exceptional player learn how to play a new game that's not in their wheelhouse.
And I will freely admit, if Cerise was a new player I knew nothing about, I would be dunking on this behavior right now, and I still am, quite honestly.
Yeah, you can't.
However,
Like
this is Cerise, and we know again there's a huge amount of history that she has doing very well, even after making moves like this that we have seen on Survivor, and so I think it would be foolish to assume that just because we see her being messy right now, that it's definitely going to blow up and it's definitely going to cause her demise, when we know she's very talented. And, I think there's a very good chance that she is able to somehow work her way through this. And not taking that past information into account, I think is not really looking at the situation analytically enough. It's interesting. And this is exactly why I wanted to watch Cerise play, because we're getting to see more of her actual game and getting to get a more real sense of how she plays, and getting to analyze, exactly what makes a player like her work. And if for whatever reason people do feel like, okay, she's actually not as good as we thought she was, then the question then would become,
at Big Brother, though. Like,
right, at Big Brother. And the question would become like, then why was she so successful in Survivor? Why did she dominate the traders? Why did she make Cody one of the more dominant winners of Big Brother? Like tremble in fear, basically. Like, why did she completely get one over on him if she is so bad, right? So I think that again, for me, this is why, like, I was like, I don't even really care if her son is on the cast. I don't care if she's a vet playing with new players. This is just really interesting stuff. We have a really entertaining, captivating player who's very good, and also clearly now very messy. And that honestly makes it even better.
Emotional. She is emotional, and she wants things to happen if she's feeling a certain type of way about someone. In this case, it's Heisem. She wants something to happen right away. She wants to take him out, but doesn't realize that, like, you can't have that thought on a Tuesday when it takes until Thursday to actually go and do the voting. And so I think that she will adapt, especially with whomever becomes head of household next week. Seeing how she is able to pivot, I think, will be the most informative on how she plays the game, because like her being messy this week is just because it's only week 2. It's like she doesn't really understand the pace of this game. They should have been a third of the way through of Survivor at this point, and like we're at the very, very, very beginning of this long ass game. So I think that we are just watching her adapt in the moment. And I agree with you. I think it's super, super fascinating because she's a good player. And I want to see how this good player adapts to this completely different game. It's very fun for me.
Very, very fun. Anything else you wanted to bring up, Chantele?
Nothing really serious, but I thought it was very funny when Miss Felicia, she drops her mic and Suri's like, man, your comic is going to be the mic killer. And I'm like, I want it to be the mic killer.
I mean, it has to be at this point, right?
So good.
Also, probably worth noting, I haven't had a chance to read this yet, but there was an article dropped about, it's called How Big Brother Made the Game Accessible for Deaf Contestant Matt Klotz. And I'm already seeing some outrage about it. Again, I haven't read it yet, so we'll probably talk more about it tonight, especially once we see the veto competition. But my understanding from a quick glance is that it seems to be like one of those pieces about like, look how good of a job Big Brother is doing accommodating Matt, and specifically detailing, I think, the upcoming veto competition that we know was actually really bad and that they've been hiding things from. And so the picture here seems to be like they really screwed up, hid it, and then made this like article about how they actually did a really great job. So
well, I was even wondering when like they did like the Nether Gorgon HOH, like I was like wondering if they had like some subtitle, like a teleprompter.
He was given
or
a
something.
Script for that one.
Okay, great.
And
then they probably just did like all like their After Effects, because like I couldn't understand what the Nether Gorgon was saying, his riddles and rhymes, and I was like, I can't understand this. I doubt, like, I mean, everybody else maybe could understand it. Like, I'm just wondering if they would made it very clear for them, and then they just distorted for the actual show. So, okay, good.
Yeah, and like the images of the veto competition in this article make it very clear that this was clearly some kind of sound-based competition. And so I think they're trying to like pat themselves on the back for making a sound-based competition accessible to Matt, but clearly to the contestants in the house, they are all saying that it was incredibly unfair to Matt and nobody would ever nominate him based on what happened in that competition. So it just like, it's one thing to screw up. It's another thing to hide the screw up. It's another thing to like hide the screw up and then act like you actually did a really good job.
So embarrassing.
So, again, I haven't read the article yet. So I don't want to go too deep into it right now. That's just what it seems to be. That's why I've seen people talking about it so far. I'm sure we'll talk more tonight after the episode, but man, if it is what it appears to be, like that's real gross.
Yeah, that's not a good look. I really hope that they're not trying to pat themselves on the back to try to just put a veneer over the fact that there's shortcomings here. So that's very distasteful.
I mean that'd be like if I had like a really bad live feed update, I was like, that was actually terrible. That was the worst.
And then kept writing an article about how great it was.
I took it down. I erased it from the internet, and then I wrote an article about how that was actually one of the best updates I've ever done. And unfortunately, nobody's gonna get a chance to see it. But man, it was really good.
So good, so good, so good. If only we could have seen it.
Yeah. All right. So that's about what we have for you then today. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'll, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 25 live feeds, including the fallout from the flip back to the non-flip, or potentially the reflip. So who knows about all of that?
This is parkour, flip and reflip and sorry.
So tune in tomorrow morning for all of that. Of course, as I said, tonight I'll be live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, watching tonight's episode live with all of you, maybe commenting and reacting live to what this veto competition is. And then, of course, we're going to recap the episode after the fact. And then tomorrow we'll have our, first real proper live eviction that we don't expect is going to be canceled and then isn't canceled. So we'll find out if the flip goes through, if there's a blind side, or if it's just going to be what we originally thought it was going to be. Tune in tomorrow for all of that. Yeah, I mean that's basically what we got. Find me on Instagram. Check out the YouTube videos. You can find the Stock Watch roundtable from last night, even though we kind of thought the flip was going to happen at that point, and so now it's
Oh,
a
I
bit
can't wait to
outdated
watch
already.
it though. That's kind of fun. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but it'll probably be different because things. Yeah,
Yeah.
the stop flip happened at like 5 to midnight Canada time or like
It was
Eastern
like a
time.
couple hours after the roundtable ended.
Yeah, so you're probably just like, oh, okay, so that already doesn't matter.
Yeah. Chantele, what do you got going on?
Well, you can come and hang out with me on my Instagram at I can't remember my Instagram at ShanFranFran or on YouTube. I've been covering Claim to Fame, which has been super fun. I believe not this Monday, but the next Monday will be the finale. It's a 3-hour finale, so we're gonna figure out how to watch and recap that, which will be super fun. And the Challenge USA 2 has been going on, and so we've been covering that. Did a power rankings, which was super fun and really, really heated. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of working on and covering right now on my channel and in my world. So happy to be with Big Brother over here with you, though. I can't believe it's been so long. And Big Brother is live feeds. And I can't even look at Big Brother Canada anymore because I'm like, if you don't bring back the live feeds, I think I'm done with it because this is what I need. This is my show. Me talking to you about this flip and non-flip and back and forth, like this is what I love about Big Brother. And so yeah, hopefully they change things. I know that they're asking for people to reapply, but I need to have like a statement being like, and yes, the live feeds will be back because that's the show that I want to watch. And so I've been loving this season and I'm so happy to be back here with you. So fun times.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you today then. Thank you all again so much for joining us. And I will see all of you next time.